we had Drake in our club, and then we had the mayor of Vancouver in the same club. I'm too poor to listen to rap. Like I was like, unless I have X amount of money in my fucking bank account, I'm listening to R&B. Like me and Paul Devereaux would make like mashups on acid at home. I'd go play them out to 1,000 kids and force them to listen to crazy shit. He has this In the Club song. The kids love it. After party at the Grammys at Chateau Marmont. We just did Tribeca Film Festival with Ricky Powell's doc, 300 to 500 kids in like 100 person size rooms.
Hey there, it's me, Roxy Cottontail. You might know me as a DJ, artist, designer, and New York City party promoter, or from my bunny logo. I'm putting all that on the table and writing about the years that transformed music and the New York City scene. I've interviewed 250 friends and colleagues I admire. I ask all and reveal all. Please join me in the tales to rediscover the 90s and the Y2K magical landscape of music, art, technology, and streetwear. This is Roxy's Tales.
I'm Jason Salama from Vancouver, Canada. We used to throw parties, well, I guess we still do, under the My Gay Husband name and the Glory Days name and Half Alive.
My guest this week on Roxy's Tales is My Gay Husband, also known as Jason Salama, a Vancouver DJ, curator, and event producer. Jason carried Canada with his hilarious moniker, My Gay Husband, and has curated some of the most iconic events throughout Vancouver in the Y2K era alongside Paul Devereaux. My Gay Husband's history not only changed Canadian music culture, but reached far beyond North America and then worldwide. It is an honor to share some of his important history. Without further ado, My Gay Husband.
Yeah, Paul Devereaux was here at the beginning because he was a Port Alberni boy, which is a small town on the island, like next to the Surf Kids. So I actually got introduced to him by his older brother, Eric Devereaux, who I was doing events with or just starting to. And he's like, check out my little brother who blew my brain. We were doing events for a couple of years. Then he moved down to LA, started working for Mad Decent officially, even though he was doing it up here. And then I just started kind of working with his brother for over 15 years now.
Wait, what year did you start DJing?
I think around 2002, 2003. I went over to Thailand to DJ for like 2 months and just kind of learned how to DJ out there and traded gigs to like sleep in weird bars on the beach for 2 months.
That's dope.
And yeah, and then like kind of learned what worked and didn't work and what was weird and not weird, and came back and got really bored really fast. And the whole point of that trip was to come back to the city and start doing parties. Then we started doing little parties with punk bands and DJs in between, and then it went from there.
Amazing.
And oh yeah, I didn't know what year it was because I was the first one, it seemed, in Thailand to have 50 Cent's record, and literally they hated all the music I played except for In the Club. And they're like, you can sleep here if you play In the Club 3 times an hour. I'm like, I don't care. And this is like before it was, I guess, bootleg, like on the street. I had it like maybe like a month or two before it came out. And literally that was like, I just kept getting suggested to other bars and other islands because he's like, he has this In the Club song. The kids love it.
What about your first gig in Vancouver?
What was my first gig in Vancouver? It was probably playing with some local punk bands because we came back and started a night called Casbah right away after Thailand. And it was like 3 punk bands a night. And then we would play pop records in between and whatever we could find at the dollar store. And it was this weird, like, sus bar owner who would let us bring like cans in to do like flamethrowers. And he let us do beer bongs that were illegal with the liquor license. And he sold like $1 beers for us. And we rammed it out for like a couple of years. I think the band was like Fuck Me USA. It was this amazing disco punk band.
And so what was the first weekly event was it Casbah?
Casbah, yeah. And then there was this other one called Merv, MERV, that was just like us and our friends took over this bar that let us stick around. That was with Paul Devereaux and me and some other locals. Yeah, Casbah went for years, and then we kind of blew up when we started this new night called The Kids with Paul Devereaux and Eric Devereaux. We started that as a weekly, and we started just taking over all the dive bars because that was the only space that was accessible to us. That was when they were still like not bought out by conglomerates and not bought out by hospitality chains. We kind of like made all those rooms. Like we worked in like, you know, one after another until we like whatever would let us max capacity. And we were, you know, doing like 300 to 500 kids in like 100 person size rooms through the night, just like rammed, like standing in the windowsills. and then it just kept getting bigger and bigger, you know, a little drama here and there, but eventually we, in like a 2 or 3 years, I started a Tuesday night called at Celebrities, this gay bar that reopened like 2003, 4. And I was like 24, and we started doing 1,000 people a night every Tuesday.
Wow.
And then I played that for like 6, 7 years. And that's the night where we, like, me and Paul Devereaux would make like mashups on acid at home. I'd go play them out to 1,000 kids and force them to listen to crazy shit. They just thought it was going to be a house night, and it was like we'd play Crass. You know, Wes played that night, and James Murphy came down. We were like, oh, well, let's just play Crass records to 1,000 people. And James, like, he was like, what the fuck are you doing? and it was just that magic. It was all local. It was all drag queens, and it was just shocking to us. We didn't like do any promo. It was just the word of mouth of like, well, we started this like $2 drink $2 drink trend in Vancouver. Wherever we went, we were like, we need $2 drinks, and eventually the city changed the law, like the actual official law, because of our parties. Kept trying to. They were like, okay, now it's like $2.50 a drink legally to serve, and then they were like $3 a drink, and I think it's like $3.50 now is the minimum you can sell a drink in Vancouver. But they were using these laws to like shut down our parties, but they kept getting busier somehow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You have punk roots then, if you're playing Crass to 1,000 people.
Yeah, I was in like a surf punk band in high school. So like kind of like around before Pulp Fiction came out, and then that came out and we were just there. So it was just playing lots of like Manor Astroman covers and fucking Dick Dale shit. And that was when everyone was trying to sound like Pearl Jam and Creed. And everybody was trying to be so like emo, but like Creed emo, like we'd beat them in a battle of the band, they would cry outside kind of emo. Like and shit, yeah. Like 15-year-old stuff. And then to start hanging out with the older band kids, and then started sleeping downtown outside of venues in the rain and sneaking into places with them, and it went from there.
Where does the name My Gay Husband come from?
When I was in Thailand, I was like, I want to come back and throw parties. And so I was thinking about I hated all the boys club downtown. I hated like the mainstream DJs were all just like DJ Steve and DJ Rick, and all the after hours cool kid DJs were just like drug addicts and thieves stealing my records and not putting me on the guest list to go play shows. I just hated both sides of the boys club. But then it was just like, oh, I just want to be the opposite of everything. And I don't think people deserve to know anything about me, and I don't even know what I am. So it was just My Gay Husband with exclamation points.
I love
and
it.
It just pissed off every promoter, but they had to put it on every flyer, and it was on every poster in the city, and it was just hilarious. It was just a joke. I was like, it was just so anti-Vancouver. That was the whole point of it. And anti-me and anti-whatever.
Yeah. Also, like, an incredible statement to like inclusivity, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that, like words like that then.
Of course not. No.
I was just like, I've always just wanted to break up the boys club here, and that's what we've been doing. And they've just been following us because it's fun.
I mean, I know you're on the holler board. Were you on any other message boards?
I was never on the holler board.
You weren't?
No, that was like Paul Devereaux's world. Like him and Wes were on like this 45 like board before that, and that's how they became friends. And we had this weird connection between Paul Devereaux and Philadelphia. And so when they were throwing like parties, I guess in the Ukrainian hall or whatever, we were throwing similar parties with like 500 to 750 kids at monthlies in this Ukrainian cultural center in Strathcona, which is in like the heroin district really of Vancouver, like just on the border of it, next to a seniors home. So we'd have like dance parties on 2 floors with friends doing weird guitar solos in robes in the middle of parties, and like the decor were like 20-foot owls that we'd build. It was just weird and just like really fucked up 2-level mashup parties.
So it was like the parallel universe.
Yeah, it was happening like once a month, just like that. And it was just in Vancouver. We got no media. All the media's in Toronto, Montreal, the money's out there. So we all just got to grow organically out here. And it was all word of mouth off fucking Friendster.
When was the Ukrainian Cultural Center party?
It was like around there, like early 2000s, like I guess like maybe 2004 or 5. That was after we stopped doing the punk bars. We started doing our weekly to the kids and Paul Devereaux, and we all just started getting bored of the weekly a little bit. We wanted to do monthlies that were strange, and we just had to go bigger and bigger. Like, if we didn't have a room that held 400 or 500 kids, it was one of those dangerous parties that we loved. Yeah. It was just about us being able to do whatever we dreamed of, and eventually it was us throwing $100,000 festivals with our own cash we were just making on the side, and like for 4 years straight, and going that scale by 2010. Like, we jumped really big from 2005 2010, because when we were starting up, our rent was like $300-400, right, to live like in a 2 or 3 4 bedroom with some friends. And then when these kids came up, this next wave that we were working with, and that was the thing, what we wanted to do was, we noticed that everybody was a snob before us. They were working in their scene, they weren't investing in the next wave. Everyone thought they were going to be a superstar. It was ridiculous. We were aware of all the stereotypes going into it, and we wanted to break up all the stereotypes. All we talked about was the stereotypes. We scaled up, and these poor kids, like they rolled into the city, and rent's like $1,000 now, and like rent's $2,000 now, and these kids couldn't take risks on flying in their favorite artists that maybe they just have one song out on Myspace, but they're like, fuck it, let's bring these kids in. We already have always 500 kids. We don't have to worry about ticket sales. They trust us. Let's just do what we love. And these poor kids couldn't do that after, like they were just like, they couldn't rent a weird warehouse for $1,000 and throw together a bar and all this shit. So we've noticed that, and that's why we've always just been like, not putting us on the posters and putting the next kids on the posters, and taking our logos off and putting their logos on, and giving them budgets, like literally just fucking party allowances from our marketing budgets. And these kids, now we've built all these sub brands. Now all these kids are running the city now, and we're behind the scenes doing crazier shit, that next level scale stuff, and working with crazy brands, but it's all quiet. And that's the whole point. We've always been quiet out here. I've been hyper focused on locals. Yeah, our talent pool is so deep here, nobody knows about it. It all fills up rooms, and everyone just gets such corny, better ROI. The artists make more money, the venue makes more money, we make more money, and everything lasts longer because we've built, organic relationships and organic followings that have evolved. It's not just a bunch of functioning alcoholics. The kid that used to run my door, call me Genesis now. The other kid that used to fucking work our coat check runs the best gay parties in town. Shit's inspiring. It's nothing to be jealous about. Like, oh fuck, I had my moment, I'm good. And we're still having our moments every day, but it's just quieter.
Well, who were you booking before 2010?
I think my first out-of-town artist, I brought in like Mike and Andy from the Smiths. That was the coolest thing. I was like, holy shit, my first, like, after doing punk bands for 3 years, that was my first DJ booking, when they were coming across Canada blown out of their brains, playing like ripped Smith CDs to a bunch of cokeheads. That was first thing. And then it was like that whole like Myspace era stuff, where we could just, I'd fly out to Pop Montreal, and that's where I did, was just spend a lot of my money flying out to other events in other cities or playing for free, just to build a network, which I didn't even know that word before. Yeah. And so we'd fly out to Pop Montreal and see like Mastercraft's first set, like Al just playing disco at some blown out shitty bar in Montreal, and then like, hey, can we fly you guys out to Vancouver to play a blown out shitty bar? And then when meeting people in festivals, going to Chicago and meeting like the Floss Kids, Mano, and that era kind of stuff. But it was really just, once Myspace came around, that's what opened the door to artists. Friendster was building the local scene and getting it locked, and then Myspace was when the introduction of brands as a person, and introduction of just artists availability. So we could just reach out to like the fucking Spank Rock Kids, or Wes, who's done like 3 or 4 secret, a couple of those, the secret local shows for us. We would just fly him in because he's friends with Paul and Eric, and he wants to see them, and we just play a little like party in the alley, and a couple hundred kids come out. And then once like the agencies got on board, that's when I was like, I'm out. Like, I don't need to kiss ass to talk to my friends. You don't need to limit how I can talk to them. And then also, they screwed up all those kids' momentum. They started putting them all on private parties, for Vans or PBR, whoever the fuck down in the States, making hella money. but they were just geeky RSVP kids coming to your party. There was no like heat, there's no locals, and they priced them out of the market by doing free parties. It made them, it made all their careers go from like 5 years to like 18 months. And then that's what I noticed what agencies were doing. They're just rinsing their kids for 18 months. That was the hot, if you weren't hot in 18 months, get out of here. They'll just dump you.
Yeah.
So that's why it got really sad for me. I was like seeing all this hot talent, just like people that should have blown and be icons now, instead of just the DJs that are still around from that era. And there was just like all this heat coming from Vancouver. Like, we don't need to deal with this anymore. If they want to come through us, they'll just hit us up. And that's what happened. We just like get hit up by people while they're coming to town. Like, can we play your party? We heard it's hot. And that was literally, and then we like, sure, as long as the agent's not involved, I don't give a fuck. Come through, play whatever you want. We're busy.
Yeah.
That was our big step, is when we started going to South by Southwest at the end of 2000s and started doing Vancouver artist showcases down there and putting them on our own dime from the parties we were throwing up here. So we did the first Grimes party down there. She played like a fucked up bill. It was like Grimes, Andrew WK, and Nardwar, because they always play together. And then fucking Gavin McInnes hosting and like teaching people how to do cocaine, like in a stand-up set, like at like 1 in the afternoon at a bar in Six. We like flew him out for a couple, but that's the most notorious shit, I guess, is that we used to fly Gavin out for stand-up sets. He came through with TV Carnage with Derek, and he played with Tan Lines, like just another like bill that I wanted to see in Vancouver that made no sense. We flew Tan Lines out, and we had TV Carnage open, like a comedy act open up for a dance band, and like 500 kids showed up.
Very cool. Any more bands you were booking, or DJs? Guest DJs?
We book everything. We work with like, we do comedy shows up here, we do bands, we do art shows, we do skate competitions. Fucking, I've had Mayor Gregor Robertson DJ our parties twice. Like, you know, Drake came up to our club a couple years ago, which I'm sick of people talking about. It was a couple years ago. And really, I've just been like, after kind of like, I ditched the hipster world in like 2015 and just went straight homo, and just fucking been working in Pride and been doing like, you know, Pride floats with like 1 million people in attendance. And I really took over like booking kind of the drag queen scene. All the drag queens now that are just like the heat in the city were just like the hipster kids that used to come to our parties in 2010, 2015. And they just evolved into their like their fucking butterfly state. We were just the caterpillar phase in the earlies. And now, so the last 5 years, I've just been doing all the drag festivals. I've been, you know, like doing Pride in Vancouver at this club called Celebrities, and we put 13,000 people through the club in less than a week. And we bring everyone out, like, you know, Trixie Mattel and Amanda Lepore and, you know, Naomi Smalls. And so that's where my like life's been the last 5 years. I'm just really investing. I've been using this marketing money I had my club to invest in like the South Asian scene, the Korean scene, like the femme queer. Like, I just been like putting on all these kids and giving them this room for free that they could do whatever they want. And all these huge local brands have come out of it, like Babes on Babes and Mixed Gems, and all these promoters now that can like have gone to other rooms and now can fill it up and sustain their communities. So that's what I've just been doing the last 5 years. Like, I let everyone else deal with talent buying unless it's local. So that's just been my wave for like nearly 10 years now. And I think that's why I'm still working. And then I want to move over to cannabis in January, and we've just been busy. Like, I was like, okay, I can still support culture through cannabis because I have these crazy budgets. And so we did like the Catronata after party at the Grammys at Chateau Marmont. We just did Tribeca Film Festival with Ricky Powell's doc. We did the after party at LeBain with Slick Rick. We did Stat Magazine's events, that Surf Magazine out in California, like their film screenings. Yeah. So it still has the OG 2000 roots. Like, we're still pushing it.
Well, one of my questions is, how do you think that era, our early 2000s, impacted now?
Okay, it's everywhere. It's every drum, every kick drum, every hi-hat. It's on every pop song. Like, everything that we're doing is still influencing. Like, you know, like after we were making trash mashups and we started playing quality music, getting to disco and all, like playing like world shit, global stuff, and really expanding the portfolio out here. That's, you know, disco and house really took over the underground out in Vancouver. And now look at everybody's records. Fucking Foo Fighters put out a fucking disco record. So like, you know, Mood Hut and Pacific Rhythm and like all the new kids out here are just creating the sound, and you just wait and it's there on the radio in 3 years.
Yeah.
It's getting stolen faster and faster now because, you know, the producers all have the same fucking plugins and, you know.
Any crazy stories you want to share from the early era?
You know, we got to work with some, you know, just worked with crazy. I fucking DJ'd with a Feist hologram. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's crazy. From like making that shitty mashup I did, sitting next to Paul Devereaux on a couch that was out of tune and out of time and didn't make no sense musically. And I got to fly around the world with that song, which was weird, like going to Brazil and Australia for like 4 days. And then having to play with their hologram like 5 years. It was just this weird, this world's just so insane and so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's just about absorbing it and exploring it. There's tons of those stories, you know, like like I said, like we had Drake in our club, and then we had the mayor of Vancouver in the same club in the room below him, like having this going away party after retiring. And it's like, those are the surreal moments for me, having all of City Hall in your club that's over capacity, and selling table service that's probably illegal still technically, and the police are in your club like clinging champagne with the mayor because they're all a bunch of corrupt fucks who raise our rents. And then we have Drake upstairs, and I just love the surrealness of at that moment that I'm working both parties upstairs and down, and it's like, Drake's upstairs. I'm like, I don't care, I'm dealing with the mayor. This is where that's where the future of my money is. I'm too poor to listen to rap. Like, I was like, unless I have X amount of money in my fucking bank account, I'm listening to R&B and fucking disco. That's it. Songs of love and struggle. So yeah, everyone's gonna have those, like, oh, this cool party, I had this big act in a small room, you know, cool. Like everyone's, once you realize there's versions of you in every city, the stories are, you know, they're cute, they're like great, but you know, it's about like, I met the love of my life because of my party. Like this person that, and I met the woman that changed me and like turned me from a boy to a man boy, you know. So I remember everything outside of it, because I love just, again, being quiet and behind the scenes. We were loud for a minute, then we realized loud was just ridiculous, and there was a timer on that. And so after like 10 years of being loud, we're like, let's do quiet. And quiet's working long term, man. We've survived all these bands and all these rappers and all these people asking us ridiculous money. I'm like, I'm good. I won't see you in 2 years. Like, I've flipped through like 6, 7, 8 generations of club kids. And it's like, they all look like my friends from day one. No one's changing. There's versions of us everywhere, and it's amazing. And you kind of try to link those stories. And we're just mentoring now.
I love it.
Really, more so than anything.
When did Hi-Fi open?
I was like, I think Hi-Fi was the early 2000s. I used to go out there and play like a couple times. Small Town were great. That gave me the opportunity to do acts in Vancouver, was meeting Clayton at Sing Sing in Seattle, him bringing everyone through. They needed another gig. Portland wasn't really popping then. It was either LA, San Francisco, or Seattle. And so we started bringing them up to Vancouver, and then we could send them to Hi-Fi in Alberta after. So that was really, we got to do like parties with like DJ Medi and dive bars with like 400 skaters because of having Hi-Fi next to us. So yeah, Mike and P were like, without those guys, there'd be so less heat on the West Coast. Like, really, it's like a dead zone between them and Toronto, right? There's nothing popping. There's no venues that contribute to the culture outside of local events or like white indie rock shit. So yeah, without them, Vancouver would probably be a couple years behind, definitely.
Any songs from the Y2K era that personify that time for you?
Oh yeah. Just that, I think the end of times, that LOL Boys song, Oh It Changes by LOL Boys. Mm-hmm. Those kids from Montreal, you know, Jerome, and Marcus. I think that I loved it just because it was so fake sounding. And it was like the beginning of like the weird meta internet humor era. And like taking it seriously and not seriously at the same time, but it's when really smart people started making dance music. And that's when I was like, yo, I'm going to stop making edits and mixtapes. Everything's getting so technical and nerdy right now and trolly. Like, I'm out. All my shit was always out of tune, out of time, and it didn't make sense, but it was just made for drunk people. And I was like, I was like, I gotta put it on the internet, I guess. But I was like, this is just for kids that are blasted at 2 a.m. in front of broken speakers. Like, that's all my music's for. And it's not for like to like sit at home and listen to.
I mean, you're a wealth of information and knowledge, and I'm appreciative.
Yeah, same. I'm appreciative of that. Yeah, we reached out. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't talk about this shit with nobody. I'm a vault. Like, so this is weird for me.
Yeah.
Try not to be like narc anything out.
Any memorable or iconic interactions?
Honestly, like that day what we brought out NWK for like I think it was like 2008 or something, kind of like for that motivational speech. And then we did an after party, which was insane. It was NWK and Fosterdamus double bill at like a dirtbag country bar with like 500 skaters at it. And he just played piano over his album off of like a cheap dollar store piano we found that day and sang along. And then Floskin played it, crushed. And then NWK tried to DJ with a bunch of Goa trance CDs. Like, he brought like thousands of dollars of Goa trance CDs with him. Like, when, like, remember those big booklets that were like $100 to buy in the CD store? He had every one of them. So I was like, yo, I used to sell these like at the record store. I know how, like, this is like $1,000 for the CDs. And he didn't play one of them. He just got really too high. He was smoking too much like hash and he just couldn't play. In Vancouver, just like, we got that weed hash out here. So we just for him. But yeah, just hanging out with him and just like him talking about just happiness. Like, we just walked around the city for like 2 or 3 hours, and he really like changed me a lot. And it just like gave me a bigger perspective of the world and just about positivity. And it didn't teach me about the illusion of cool, but just made me more aware of it. And again, always like bringing up and being aware of the stereotypes and trying to fight them, but we fail because there's systems that are put in place that are so strong. We're like, oh, we're never gonna go out with a girl we meet at our party and be that lame rave DJ couple. Like, that happens. And they're like, oh, I'm never gonna get fat like those DJs did when they got older. That happens. And like, I'm never gonna do drugs, I'm never gonna do blowover. That happens. I'm never gonna drink. That happens. And you just repeat their mistakes because they're systems, and it's impossible to break systems. If you do, if you think you're an egomaniac, and it's insane. But you're just trying to remove your ego to get true results. And he taught me a lot of that. It was just a really nice day of walking around and talking. Yeah. And that was probably that changed me the most. And that's probably why I'm still working today, to be honest, because everyone just gets so consumed by the negative because it's the ego. And once you remove the ego, which is impossible, but you're attempting to through your actions, more than thinking stupid metaphysical things like that.
Do you think we covered enough? What do you think?
Yeah, it was nice conversation. I think I got some shit off my chest. So it was nice. It was like you should be charging for these sessions. Therapy.
Thanks for hopping by. That's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stalk. Bounce, little kitty.